Welcome, dear sisters. Welcome to another time together. I am Erica Greif. This is Becoming Luminous Women. I'm so blessed and honored to have you here. This is your time, so go ahead and take a nice deep breath. Allow your breath to bring in the prana, enliven, awaken, grounding, centering. Set aside this time now for you once again to come into circle, connecting to your sisters, grounding to the mother, allowing the sun to shine on us, being in communication and community with the sacred feminine as a whole, complete, healed, and together. Today, I am so pleased and honored and excited to introduce to you a very special guest that the universe has brought to this podcast quite recently, and she's just the next puzzle piece that we all need on our path to wholeness, to sisterhood, and to becoming luminous women. Her name is Laura Jack. Laura, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Erica. It's so great to be here with all of you.
Thank you. Ladies, please forgive any lack in quality of this recording. As the universe would have it, there was some technical difficulty, so we're recording it differently than normal. So there might be some background noise, but just be with us. Allow yourself to just hone and center in on the vibrational medicine that is coming through Laura as well as through me, and just open yourself to that. That's the most important piece of today. Continuing to breathe into your body, allowing your belly, your womb to be full of prana. Allowing your peritoneum, your vaginal area, your hips, your buttocks, your legs to receive that beautiful prana. Allow your shoulders to roll back and down, your jaw to release. Your brow to unfurl. Allow the gravity of your luminous energy field to once again be heavy, coming down, connecting deeply into the mother here. Allow her to hold you and to bring you the medicine that comes for you here today, that I'm so excited to share with you, because Laura Jack, she brings a medicine that is not necessarily talked about amongst many circles, but it is something that we are constantly in connection with, and yet have not been given enough tools, enough skills, enough resources to be able to process with wholeness. And as you know, the healing of the sacred masculine as well as the sacred feminine is happening right here, right now. In each one of us, this beautiful awakening, reconnection, reestablishment is happening. And there is a puzzle piece that needs to be in place for us to be able to do that. And one major piece Laura brings. Laura has a book coming out. It's called The Compassion Code. And on her website, laurajack.com, let me spell it for you. We will give you this again at the end, but let me just give you the information early. Because anytime I listen to a recording, I always want to know, what's the URL in the beginning? So it's LauraJack.com. And to be able to get Laura's, what she calls the Compassion Code Starter Kit, go to LauraJack.com / Compassion Code. And today we're going to talk about the Compassion Code Starter Kit as well as the book that she has coming out soon. We'll be talking about that. But from here, Laura, please tell us about how you came about in your life to be a trainer at the Grief Recovery Institute, to be a master level transformational life coach. How did you come into this place of writing this book and of building the bridges between people? How and what is it in your life that has caused that? We are all ears.
Thank you so much. Great question. So, really, honestly, it's funny because now with this book being about to be birthed into the world, it would have been hard for me to imagine having been able to write something like this maybe 10 or 12 years ago. It all started, all my life I was one of those people who could find the silver lining to anything. I was the one who could make it all better just with, telling you why it's okay. And so 9 years ago, so in 2008, my mom was killed. She was walking across the street and she was run over by a car. And my life, as I had known it before, with all my silver linings, was basically turned upside down. And I was just broken open and broken apart at that time. And what I realized during that time was that, one, I had absolutely no idea how to deal with grief of any kind, my grief. I had never been given the tools to deal with it, and I didn't know how to help myself. And I also realized that there was no silver lining to this cloud. Like this darkness that I was feeling, there was nothing that I could say or no way I could make it better. I could not find something positive about the fact that my mom was gone. And so I went on this journey of healing myself. And I wanted to figure out, how do I help myself through all this pain? And it started kind of not superficially, but I went to massage school first because I was like, I need to do something with my hands. I didn't know what to do with my hands. And so I went to massage school, and being surrounded by, the first lesson was learning how to receive, actually. It's funny because massage school is all about giving the gift of massage and touch. But what I didn't realize getting into massage school was that, one, I would be surrounded by so many loving, amazing, giving people, and that massage is highly therapeutic for your pain. Like, I remember there were so many tears that were cried on the table. But then finally, I was literally required to receive massage every term. So I had to get 30 hours of massage, receiving massage. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I didn't know that was part of it. And it was super uncomfortable for me at first because I was so used to giving, like so many women do, that I had never really allowed anyone to give to me. And so the first gift I ever got after losing my mom was learning how to receive from strangers, from friends, from loved ones, from anyone who was willing to give it to me. And I'm still working on this, but I have come a long way. So that was the first gift. And again, I didn't know where my path was headed, and a lot of people looking in, especially my close family, was very confused because it was not the path I had taken before. But that led me to putting healthy things in my body, because massage led to yoga and tinctures. And I went to massage school up in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. And so I was introduced to this whole new world of acupuncture and acupressure and tinctures and herbals. And, there were just so many things that I had never known about growing up in Texas. And so it was a really fascinating, eye-opening shift in my life that led me to holistic health and wellness and how to take care of our bodies. And I used to think that drinking Diet Coke and putting Splenda in my coffee meant meant that I was healthy. And so now, obviously, that's far from the truth I live. But I didn't know any better. And so, or like eating sugar, or like, sugar-free or low-fat diet, and all these, I was always on some kind of yo-yo something, gaining weight and losing weight. And I really didn't know what it meant to love or care for myself. So that was, a huge part of this journey. And then really, honestly, and I've never had this experience before, and I hope I have it again, but there was one night where I was home visiting my dad with my now husband. He was my boyfriend, I guess, at the time. And it was the anniversary of my mother's death a few years later. And I had become a health coach, and I was like telling people what to eat and what to put in their body. And I had gotten really into that. And I just remember I felt like there was something missing. There was something that wasn't quite right, and I didn't know what it was. And so I go to my dad. My dad is super smart, and he's very left brain and a financial advisor and like incredible at his job. I trust him with, everything, related to anything around that realm. But I said to my dad, Dad, do you think I can make this health coaching thing work? And he's like, well, instead of like, all I really wanted looking back was for him to be like, yes, I believe in you. But he said, well, let's get out, the spreadsheet, and like, let's see if financially we can make this, a reality. And so I was like, okay. So I just sat there so deflated in that moment of like, and so I entertained his, spreadsheets for about 30 minutes. And then I was like, okay, Dad, I think I need to go to bed. And so I go to bed, I go into my room, and in my childhood room, and I'm crying to my husband now. And I said, Aaron, if my mom were here, she would know what I should do. She would know. Because my mom was the intuitive feeler. She was really, really connected to people. And she and my dad were the perfect, pair together. And so I go to bed kind of teary-eyed and feeling like, abandoned by my mother. And I wake up, or I didn't know what it was, but I woke up around 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was such a strong presence that I felt in my room that I was like, where is she? I felt like she was there. And again, I never had this experience before. I was like, where are you? I like looked around the room like she would be perched somewhere up in the corner or something. And I could just feel her energy. And then all of a sudden, a stream of words started coming into my head. And the words were love, loss, love. Love, loss, love. And I couldn't make sense of it at first. Love, loss, love. Love, loss, love. What does that even mean? So I kind of tried to go back to sleep. And the words just kept flooding in. Love, loss, love. Love, loss, love. Over and over and over again. And so finally I get my phone out. I don't want to wake anybody up. So I just get my phone out and I type in love, loss, love. And then more stuff comes. And all of a sudden I'm like, I need to go into the other room. And so I get out my notepad and I start writing, like scribbling as fast as I can, all this stuff that doesn't feel like it's coming from me. And I write till probably 8 in the morning, and my dad wakes up. And I finally feel like I'm complete with all this, but I'm buzzing because I haven't slept in hours, and I've been writing. And I go into my dad's study, and, he had seen me upset the night before, and I come in and I'm like illuminated. And he's like, what happened? And I was like, I think Mom came to see me. And he's like, oh, whatever, because that's not part of our belief system of like how I grew up. And he's like, well, what happened when she came? Because he also like really missed her. And I said, I think she told me what I'm supposed to be doing. And he said, well, what is it? And so I read him. I was like, can I just read you all the notes that I just wrote? So I read him all these notes, love, loss, love. And I'd written my first talk that I ever ended up giving and all this stuff. And basically I decided that what the interpretation was that I needed to help people who'd gone through loss love life again. And so ever since then, I have been seeking and finding all the ways in which I could not only heal myself from the pain I experienced from losing my mom and so many other losses in my life, but also to be able to then help other people to heal themselves, both physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever way they want, to help them live life fully and love their lives again, or for the first time sometimes. So that's what led me to doing this work with grief. I found the Grief Recovery Institute, which is amazing. I read their book and I was like, I have to do this. I had read like 50 or 100 grief books, and I found this one that just, I couldn't find anything that I didn't like about it. And so I called the Institute and I was like, how do I, come get by it? And they're like, well, there's a training where you live in December. So it was like 9 months away. So before December happened, I'd read the book 15 times probably. And I had helped all sorts of friends through it, because there's like, the method is in the book. So you can go to the Grief Recovery Handbook and you can like read the book. And I was like, this is so amazing. I couldn't believe it, because it's action oriented, which I loved. And so that just like kind of continued to lead me down this path. And what I realized is the number one question I get asked as a grief recovery specialist, and just as a coach in general, because I do a lot of like transformational coaching, is, my friend is going through this. What do I do? What do I say? How do I act? And before, I was the friend, one of my girlfriends from high school, who I hadn't seen, since high school, but when we were seniors in college, her mom died. And instead of going to the funeral, which so many of my friends did, I like ran away, because it scared me to death. Because I was like, oh my God, if anything ever happened to my mom, I would be so lost and devastated. So instead of like going to my friend's side and being like, I would have been lost and devastated if this were me, I just ran away, and I was radio silent. I did not call, I did not write, I did not go, and I was what I consider now like, oh my God, I was such a terrible friend. But really, I was just an ill-equipped friend. I had no idea what to do. I had no idea what to say. And I didn't want to face the fact that that could be my life, because it was very close to home. And so the book that's coming out, The Compassion Code, the subtitle is How to Say the Right Thing When the Wrong Thing Happens. And the reason is because I have said all the wrong things. I have done all the wrong things. I have not been there. I have not supported so many of the people in my life. I have given silver linings to every dark cloud that ever came my way before my mom died. And so this is kind of my way of repairing all the damage I feel like I did, and helping give people the tools to help other people in their lives when they go through challenging times. Not just death, but divorce and breakups and job loss and bad diagnoses and all sorts of things that come up for people that are super challenging, and yet nobody knows how to respond in a loving, compassionate way that doesn't just turn that other person off. And so, long-winded answer, but I hope that I gave you an impression of all that this journey has been for me, or at least some snippet of it.
That was marvelous. That was absolutely marvelous. And I just want to honor and thank you for opening the door for us to be able to see the progression of how life brought you the exact thing that you ran away from, the thing that you really did not want, brought it to your door in such an intimate way that it didn't just, rock you, but you continued to, do whatever job you were doing before. It rocked you to a place where it actually aligned you with what feels like your soul's calling, your heroine's journey. Because, it's that polarity, that polarity extreme. It happened in your life at a time when you were conscious enough to go, oh my gosh, if that ever happens to me, just dig a hole, dig two, right? Yeah, I get that. You're just completely unprepared, right? And you run away. That is such a polar, experience. And then for that to happen, and I'm going to say for you, then you get to go all the way to the other side of, wait, I'm not just going to allow this to be something that happened in my life. I'm going to allow it to shape what it is that I'm here to offer, be, give, do, practice. And that is the mecca of what I feel that we are all here to do, to really pay attention and to allow what comes forth in our lives to transform us, to have it be that fire that burns us to the ground so that we can be the phoenix that rises. And this has happened, in all parts of history. But there is something monumental happening right now for people, that we are waking up to a whole new way of living. And it's this way. It's this paradigm of use your life not only to serve others, but it will tell you how to. It will teach you what you have to learn so that you can come from, God bless Mother Teresa, from that compassion place. And I really feel that the gift, the skill, the energy of compassion is what heals us deeply internally. And when we allow that to heal us internally, we automatically resonate at that, and it just comes out of us. And this is the resonant medicine that we get to be for the people who come and need our medicine. And, I don't know about you, but every time I get to see this in a client's life, in a sister's life, in all the people around me, it just continues to anchor this place of the universe is benevolent. You are safe. You are loved. You are held. You are being taught. You are being led. You are being pushed. Like, can you just let go and listen? And some days it's easier than others. I will be the first to admit that for sure. But your story just encapsulates that heroine's journey. It really is. And it's so interesting that you said, you would always be the one that could find the silver lining. That in archetypal language is the shapeshifter. The person that has the ability to, if the ship is going down, they're the ones that can find the silver lining, that can say, oh, no, if we just do this, or keep everybody together, or let's, we have the ability to find the opening, the stream of opening that's still coming into any situation. You use that for yourself. And I have no doubt in my heart, in my mind, in my system, in what I know, that your mom came through that channel that you always carry with you. It's that open place of divine communication. And she was able to utilize that because you asked the question. And how beautiful for you to use your pain to be able to step into a place of, I don't know what to do. Someone help me. And I love that you went to your dad, who is super masculine, super linear, right? And although the father has many healing properties, it wasn't father medicine you needed, it was mother medicine you needed. And, love, loss, love, life again. That is... Do you have a tattoo of that? I would write that all over my system, right? Just to remind me of that, to steep in that. So how many years had she had passed? 3 or 4 at that point?
Yeah, I think so. She died in 2008, and I think that this was in January of 12. I want to say 12.
Okay. That makes sense. 2012 was a rock star year. Absolutely.
That year was oh my gosh, it was so life-changing for me.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, You just encapsulated what it means to stand in your strength, to stand in what it is that the universe brings you to do. That it's not, I mean, absolutely. I'm sure you can attest, and all of us can attest to the place where we fight against this perfection that comes in, right? But now from what's called the eagle perspective in shamanic medicine, you know, that high up perspective, you can see the perfection here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I would never, ever have wished this upon my life.
Sure.
And when I think about my mom not being here, it's still like very sad that she can't be part of my day-to-day physical presence. But when I look at the beauty and like the fact there would have been, I can't imagine any other experience that would have guided me to be where I am today. Like my relationship with my mother was so deep and so profound and so, and granted we had our like normal mother-daughter fighting and whatnot, but we were so close that her absence had me with the question, and this is a question I get from so many of my clients, is who am I now?
Yeah.
Who am I without this person who has shaped and defined my life for all of my life?
Right.
And, you know, whether it's a romantic relationship or a mother or a father or a brother or sister or, you know, a dear friend, and whether it's a death or not, sometimes when people leave your life, it leaves us with that question of who am I now? And that's been the biggest part of my journey along the way, is redefining myself and rediscovering who I am and who I want to be moving forward.
This is my next question is something that you're just going to have to do off the top of your head. How does it influence your motherhood journey? Because you have a 2-year-old now. What spaces has that opened up for you? Because, oh my good, like to have that, you know, your mom was, you know, such a deep part of your identity. And it's interesting because you said, you know, you needed to learn how to receive. And, you know, the mother archetype, the mother energy, the mother earth, she is the giver. She is the holder. She's the neutralizer. She's the nourisher. She's vitamins, you know, on so many levels. She's the processor. She's just this massive, massive force in our lives, that to have her taken out, her physicality taken out, her daily presence in your life, you had to learn how to receive from the other givers and from
and from myself.
There it is. Yeah.
I really had to learn how to love and nourish myself.
There it is.
Which was like her role all my life, was to like, she was so constant. And I had to learn how to be that for me.
Yeah.
Because no matter how, you know, before she died, there were probably a couple of years earlier, we were out for a walk and we ran into that friend that I mentioned, whose mom had died. And there were a couple of things that she said, but one, we ran into this friend and I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, this was the most spirited girl in high school. And like literally she won that, whatever the accolade of like most spirited. And I remember saying, Mom, I feel like the light is out of her eyes. And my mom said, don't worry, Laura. And I almost feel like she was like speaking to the future version of me. And she said, she'll get her light back. And when she died, I feel like I played that over and over in my head of like, she'll get her light back. I'll get my light back. I will get my light back. And the other thing that she said when we were seeing my friend was, I said, Mom, if anything ever happened to you, I just would be lost. And she said, you will have a line of mothers waiting to adopt you. And that, while being true, like there are so many women who have like come to my aid and loved me, one of the things that she didn't think about, because she was modest and humble and encouraging me to replace my loss with other mothers, was that there is no such thing. You can't replace your mother. Whether it's like the person who, it doesn't matter who your mother is. It doesn't have to be your birth mother, but the person who raises you, the person who loves you the most. And so with that, when I got pregnant with Isla, my stepmom, my dad remarried a few years later to one of the most amazing women in the world, and she was a good friend of my mom's, and it is a beautiful story that I'll tell you another time. But she is amazing, and she's a doctor herself. She's very traditionally trained, and she's incredible at her craft. And then over here on the other side, my husband's mother is, she's a spiritual woman. She's also incredibly amazing, but she had her kids at home. She had a midwife, so I was here stuck between these two opposing forces again, without my mother to help me decide what to do. And I had to make decisions for my own birth, for my own child, for my own life, without the assistance of my mom, actually telling me what she thought. I had to decide for myself, which was something that I never would have done had she been here. So here I had these two worlds that I'm part of, because I'm part of both of them. And I didn't know how to choose. And so it really required me to go within and nurture myself. And obviously my husband helped, but, I had to ultimately decide what I wanted, because he was just like, well, it's your body and you're the one who's going to have to be doing this process. So really it's up to you. So that was a really interesting, when you bring up the idea of mothering, it was like my first self-mothering experience was having to make that decision for myself. And not having my mom there through my pregnancy was really painful, because my dad didn't remember, anything from her pregnancy, which I guess means probably that it went okay, because if it had been some traumatic thing, I'm sure he would have remembered. But I didn't have a lot of clues. So every time you go to the doctor or go to the nurse or whatever, and they ask you, what was your mom's this like? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have any records of that. And so there was this deep depth of sadness that brought up a whole nother level of grief that I had to work through, because before that, I never had asked her those questions, because I was too young to care or know that was something that would matter to me at some point. We just didn't know, and her sudden death didn't leave us the time to ask any of those harder questions. And so now, as a mother myself, I think I channel her. We have different, my mom and I have very different personalities. And I actually think my daughter's a lot like my mom, which is funny. My daughter's very organized. Even at 2, you can tell, she's very spatial, and she's very, everything has to be in its place, which is very my mother. And so in some ways it's funny, because I feel like she mothers me too. She's very bossy. She is too, but I think it's ingrained in her personality. And I'm a very kind of go with the flow. So it works. Our relationship works similarly to how my mother and my relationship worked, which was I'll listen to your opinion, but I won't always take it. But I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to take it. I'm like, okay, great, thanks. And so I do that with my daughter. It's kind of also being a little sister. I'm a little sister. And so I always kind of just let my brother tell me what to do, and then I would take some of it and I wouldn't take others, and just that's how it worked. And so it's been a really interesting journey. I hope that answered your question of really kind of learning how to mother myself, and then how to allow my daughter to mother me sometimes. It's a really mutually loving relationship, and I think it's just letting go of the control. I think that's my biggest thing, is learning how to let go, that this isn't, I don't always get to choose how it works out, and that it is working out divinely.
Absolutely. The polarity, once again, between your mother-in-law and your stepmom, there it is again. Yeah. And here you had to, oh God, it's so amazing. She was able to drop that little, there'll be a line of mothers there, for you to pick up, as when you needed it. It really, I hear you when you say, you can never replace your mom. But there's something so perfect about what it is that she was saying and what it is that you are sensing there. It's because that's not what you're supposed to do. And yes, there is a line of mothers, but it's really about deepening your relationship with mother internally and self-sovereignty and nurturing yourself and listening to all the things that we need every day, for rest, for just all of those things. As women, being raised in this Western culture, and I live in the Northeast, so the pace it's disgusting, really. It's very sad, the pace that is kept here. It's so fast that there is not enough time. There's not enough space in people's lives, in their systems, in their minds to pick up the nutrition of mother from the earth, from other people, and from themselves. And to learn how to receive, that is an action. That is a choice. That's a meditation. You have to learn that because I'm sorry.
I just said it is. It's a learning.
It is. The masculine go do give be is horrendous, and it does not give us time to be in a natural flow of our feminine cycles. There's an entire section of our cycle where we're supposed to just release, grieve, let things die, let things wash away, and rest, and take care of yourself. Where is that in society? It's something that comes from ancient truth within ourselves about what mother really does for us. I love that your little lady is bringing in your mom's personality because, in my book, she's the reincarnation, of your mom. And I have a very dear friend who has a daughter who has a reincarnation, who is the reincarnation of her grandmother. Like, it's just so beautiful how these ladies, how we stay together in circle and how nurturing and how we remember what their essence feels like. And it taps us into a root that always exists for us if we take the care, if we come at our lives with enough self-valuing, so that we take the time to tap into that, so that you feel your daughter's essence and feel that parallel vibration with your mother's. That's wisdom. That's remembering. That's mother. That's depth. And this is the lines that we need to continue to follow, so that we, on our heroine's journey here, we are continue to be mothered, and we continue to mother ourselves and everybody, who comes for this medicine. And I do regard it as a medicine. It's not. I truly, as a medicine person, I see everything as potential medicine. And this time on the planet, and I would love to hear about this right now for you as well. For me, this time on the planet for women to really pay attention to their cycles, to really listen to what it is that needs to happen for themselves every day, to install some sort of routine that upholds those needs. And, when there is grief work to do, which there's always grief work to do. There's always some sort of loss and longing that we have endured, whether it's in this physical lifetime or in the past. We're always working through something that truly requires honor to reach out and to get those resources, to work with sisters and brothers around us to bring in those resources and to take the time to actually do that. And that's self-love, that's self-care, that's self-mothering. And the compassion code that you have coming out July 4th, yes, July 4th,
yeah,
I think can really, really bless us and give us a resource that can take us through and kind of carry us to a resolution, to be able to come into a place of wholeness with things in the past that we have not been able to let go of, or things that are right here, right now, very raw losses that we need to be able to step into and begin to at least appreciate and at least acknowledge. So for you, the next question is the compassion code is written for, it seems to be written for two particular reasons. One is to support someone who is a support for someone else. So to foster what to say and what not to say. And I love how you have in the starter kit, which is a great little 10-pager that I just highlighted the whole thing. I love it. And anyone who's listening, if you want to go to laurajack.com/compassion code starter kit, or just compassion code.
Just compassion code, yeah.
You can get this, you download it, it's great, it's super simple. And there's a couple pages in here. Of course, it talks about what is compassion, but it talks about the myths of grief and as well as what to say and what not to say. I love that because what you're doing there is giving us real tools on things that I feel like we've all walked into. I remember, it's funny, so of course I want to ask you about the woman who lost her mom in high school, who you eventually saw, who gave you another gift. Man, you guys are definitely tied. I can't wait to hear if you actually went back and loved her up like nobody's business.
She was the first person I called when I got home.
Oh, I love this. I love this. Secondly, I would love to know what your inner knowing is about what's happening for us on the planet right now, whether it's just women or people, or what your sense is of the awakening consciousness, of the opening of the hearts, of the connection that's happening. I would love that. But just to my point, in the compassion code, you have in there things what not to say and what to say. You make it so simple, accessible, easy. I'm going to whip this thing out and check my vernacular the next time I need to go to a funeral, because here's my story. I probably was just out of high school, went to a friend's an older friend who had lost his wife. They were very young, but he lost his wife. I think she had maybe a heart condition. And I'll never forget and this sticks with you, right? The stuff sticks with you. I'll never forget, I gave him a hug and he said, he goes, I said, "How are you?" He's like, "I'm okay." He goes, "How are you?" I go, "I'm great." I just was like, why did you say something like that? I just felt like you could have said so many other things, or you could have just toned that down a little, or there's just all of this weird wiggle uncomfortableness that comes with grief that we're not taught how to be a compassionate person with just normal language, just really easy stuff. I could have said, "I'm really great, thank you so much for asking, but I want you to know that I'm thinking of you." Or offered it back to him, or, something that my 40-year-old self would say, not my 17-year-old self would say. So I just want to let you know that in the starter kit, there are so many great little boop, boop, boops for us to take. Thank you so much for that. So back to my question. in the big picture of what you see people going through, what you see our world changing into, the environmental pieces, political pieces, people shifting from, just choosing a career because their family says that they're supposed to do that, or it looks good, or I'll make money at it, or just trying to survive. We're really moving into a place of let life teach us what to do. What are your thoughts around that? How do you see this being fostered? Do you see it in other people? I'll let you just go with that one.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you asked me a lot of questions.
I sure did.
Go with that. I'll start with one. So you mentioned this before, but you said when things burn down, it can lead to the phoenix rising, right? Rising from the ashes. And one of the quotes on my website that I wrote is, the land after a fire is the most fertile place for growth. Like the ash is the most fertile place for anything to grow. And so what gets to happen, and there's this expression or this philosophy called post-traumatic growth. It's not post-traumatic stress, which I know we always talk about, but there's post-traumatic growth, which is growth through suffering, which is the embodiment of what I experienced, growth through suffering. And you, and I'm sure so many of our listeners, but you've talked a lot about the awakening, just like being awake to our lives. And I always talk about how when my mom died, I was finally awake to my life. And I call it burn away the BS. Like when you go through some kind of major loss, and it doesn't, again, I want to take away from the fact that it's not just about death. It's just about loss. Like it's about the things that change in our life and the conflicting feelings we have that come with it. That's the definition we use at Grief Recovery. It's just the conflicting feelings that happen when things change. And the thing is that when life changes and you go through these intense loss periods, these intense shadow periods, these intense darkness, we do get to choose how we come out on the other side. And post-traumatic growth is a beautiful reminder of that, because it allows us to realize that we can become awake to our own lives, and that when everything has burned down, when you get rid of all the BS, is where we get to make choices from the most authentic part of ourselves. Before my mom died, I never would have gone to massage school. I wanted to go to beauty school when I was in high school, and my parents told me no, because they had other plans for me. And so I went to college, and I am grateful for it. It was an amazing experience. I made so many amazing connections and friends and learned so much. But there was always this calling to take care of other people and help other people feel beautiful. And massage does that too, and I think the work I do now also aids in that. But when I went to massage school, my dad, he was so initially disappointed, because he didn't see or understand how that fit on the path of what he saw for me. He's like, I thought, you speak all these languages. I thought you'd be an ambassador for our country. Or, I just thought your life would turn out differently than it did. And what I didn't know then, but what I know now, is that I am an ambassador for our country. I've traveled all over the world, and I'm an ambassador of goodwill. Self-chosen, self-selected, but I walk around this planet with love and compassion for others. And when you do that, whether it's in your own town or in your own country or outside of your country, all around the world, that is healing. That is where the true gift lies, is in loving and giving to yourself enough that you actually have room to love and give to others. And I had to go to massage school to learn that I had to learn that I have to receive if I'm going to give. If I don't receive, if I don't allow myself to receive, I won't be a good giver. I won't be very good at this. I won't know what it looks like to give. I won't know what it looks like to be full. And so where I see this is in the planet, when it comes to what's going on in our world right now, is I feel like we are going through this awakening. There's a lot of strife internally within our country and around the world with all the terrorism that's happening and all the, seemingly hatred that's going on, and all this kind of disconnect. And I'm not a very political person by any means. I definitely try to be very moderate and just try to understand all sides of things. That's part of what makes me who I am. But one of the things that's been heartbreaking for me over the last year or so is all the and beyond, but like just so obviously in the last year, is all the disconnect, all the fighting between families and friends that's happening because of different beliefs. And the reason why that pains me is because it's hard to watch. But the reason why it gives me hope is that it's causing grief. And where there is grief, there is a new beginning. Where there is an ending, where there is pain, and it may not all happen at once, but what happens and what I believe is that when there is this kind of depth of pain, it allows, and we have to make the choice ourselves, but it allows for us to choose love, compassion, connection. Part of the reason I chose the 4th of July as my launch date for my book is because my book is all about building bridges. It's all about bringing people together under the understanding of everybody has a story that we don't know, that we don't understand. Behind that facade of I'm fine, behind that facade of, I'm doing well, on Facebook or whatever, is the real story of somebody's life. And all the things and all the pains and all the troubles and all the amazing pieces that they've gone through to get where they are. Because if you think about evolution, our ancestors, each person that is here on Earth, their ancestors had to survive through reproduction to have a baby. And that baby had to survive through reproduction to have another baby that led to somebody else's baby, that led to somebody else's baby, that led to somebody else's baby, that led to each of us. So each of us is a little gift to this world, and I believe that. And I think that we lose sight because we are so connected to our beliefs. And a belief is something that we hold dear. That's what it means, a belief, something to hold dear. And so we hold our beliefs dear. And unfortunately, what happens when we hold our beliefs so closely that we don't see why other people's beliefs are or see what other people's beliefs are is that we lose that connection. And so the Compassion Code is all about understanding that everyone has a story. And that if we could understand that story, then we would probably be kinder to each other. Because so there's a whole section in my book, it's probably the longest chapter of the whole book because it goes through how to have compassion for people with different beliefs, how to have compassion for teenagers, how to have compassion for people who we don't like, how to have compassion for killers and people who do terrible things in the world, how to have compassion for, your relative who just happens to frustrate the hell out of you, right? So how and why do we have compassion for those people? And that's really what the book is all about, is how do we give ourselves compassion? And the secret is it starts with giving compassion to ourselves. We have to be kind and loving to ourselves in order to give to others. And so I guess the way I feel about the world right now is that we are at a shadow. We're in a shadow right now where it is painful and it hurts. And what gives me hope is this idea of post-traumatic growth, which is when there is pain and when there's suffering and when there's fighting and when there's upheaval and when there's killing and when there's all this violence and misunderstanding, it leads to the possibility of love and coming together over love. And so, it hurts, and so does grief, and we don't want to look at it. We want to run away from it. We want to look the other way, but we have to look at it, and we have to love. We have to shower love to people who we don't understand, and sometimes that's really, really hard. And I do give some guidance for that in the book, and I also give guidance on how to be compassionate towards others without burning yourself out, because part of the trouble is the more we give, there's a real thing called compassion fatigue, and I actually think of it more as empathy fatigue. Mm-hmm. When we get into somebody else's shoes so much that it pains us. Mm-hmm. And so I talk all about that in the book, is really just how to give yourself the kind of care that you need in order to be compassionate towards others. So I hope did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Plus all of the goods that I wanted to hear as well. Absolutely. I love that you point out, well, there's just so many pieces that you're pointing out that I'm just absolutely in love with, and so thankful for. The empathy fatigue, compassion fatigue. This is real, that so many people are enduring. And it can cause depression. It can cause adrenal burnout. It can cause so many, reactions within our systems, where we just, we need a ton of downtime, quiet time, and people they get into this place where they're like, "What is wrong with me?" I go and I do a great job and people love me, but then I need a ton of quiet time. And to me, that says, just from my own personal experience, says, well, where was your compassion first? Where was your self-love first? Do you know your boundaries well enough so that you know how much you have to give? Like you said, how do you know when you're full? How do you know, even what you need? Do you know your boundaries well enough so that you can say, yes, this is what I can give. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I would love to give. And then the rest of it, this is what I need for me. And this is how I work in the world. And there are so many people that that truly understand themselves as empaths, but are in this almost fantastical place of, well, I just give all the time. And then they come down with conditions. They come down with, situations within their physical body, their emotions.
Autoimmune is one of the most common.
There it is. Exactly. And that's my point. So this really ties into, I could even call it an epidemic, where people truly feel this call to be of service, to be an ambassador of goodwill. But there is they've been, I love this. We're born as just this big open bright stars that are just, shiny and giving and loving and beautiful and compassionate. But at some point, there is not enough information coming in to say, okay, you can contain yourself, dear love. You don't have to, not have boundaries. You have to have some sort of container, because this is a physical body, hence the container, and you have to take care of it,
Well, and can I add to that for
yes.
a second? Is as babies, we are fully receiving. We give a smile, and that's our gift to others, right? As a small child, you don't have to do much. And we have to remind ourselves of that as even adults, is that those babies are filled up, hopefully, right? They're so the doting and the love of a child, right? Or a newborn especially. But as we get older, we're given less. But we're also restricting what we give. We have to realize that our gifts don't have to be immense. Our gift can be simple. It can be a smile. It can be a compliment. It can be a kind word. It can be a gentle touch. It doesn't have to be a huge gift. Sometimes your presence alone is the biggest gift you can ever offer.
Mm-hmm.
And so as adults, we have to remember, we're not always being filled up. So we have to ask for what we need. We have to seek what we need to fill ourselves up first, so that we can then continue to give to others.
And this pulls in the personal sovereignty that I feel that we're truly being called to understand, to hone, to carry, and to teach. Because this is us being awake to our lives, being awake that we are truly creators of what our entire existence, and that we can teach that we can offer that, and we can and be a gift just by being that. That is a whole different conversation we can get into, and I'm sure we will at some point. So, of course, the next question, you've already answered it. My next question would have been advice for others to follow some wisdom now on the planet. And you've absolutely answered it with, you got to have compassion for yourself first. You really do. You have to have compassion for yourself first. And, there's so many levels of that. Compassion for what you need. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, the easiest way to simplify what that means is relating kindly to self. Having compassion for self means relating kindly to self. There's an amazing researcher out there, Dr. Kristen Neff, and if you haven't heard of her, check her out. She writes about self-compassion. She's like the guru of self-compassion, and I talk a little bit about her in my book because I love her and I love what she's created. But relating kindly to self, the way you would to your close friend who you love. So we so often have all this negative self-talk inside our heads, that self-criticism, self-doubt. And I'm not going to say that I don't. I do. But it's constant awareness of that. And then really deciding, how do I want to be kind to myself? How can I be kinder to myself? Because when we're being kind inside our head to ourselves, it's a heck of a lot easier to be kind to others. So having self-compassion first, it can be as simple as just saying, good morning, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, good morning, self. I hope you have a great day. You look great today. You're looking good, right? That in and of itself is relating kindly to yourself. You're not looking in the mirror being like, ugh, those fat rolls, my wrinkles, and all that mean stuff we say to ourselves first thing in the morning. The second we get out of bed, we look and we don't like how something looks on us, or I am beautiful. I am kind. I am a good person. All of those things are just little mantras, even if you just start with, I'm okay. I am okay.
I'm okay. Yeah.
I'm okay. Yeah. I am enough as I am.
Yep.
Even if that's all you say to yourself, that is the beginning of self-compassion. And with that comes the ability to be kinder to others. Because when you feel kind to yourself, it's a heck of a lot easier to say good morning to somebody else.
Yep.
Not, you look terrible today. Because that's what you said to yourself this morning.
And this is the law of attraction in action. Absolutely. It's funny, what you offer is actually radical for a lot of our society, because, I'm 40, and in my lifetime, the message that society has given, family, society, religion, peers, TV, the whole thing, has given to young women is that you are not enough, that you are not good enough, and that when you look in the mirror, you should figure out the problems your weaknesses, your problems, and you should handle that shit now. Go buy something to handle it, right? And it really does get hooked in very quickly to the ego's, constant rolling around in there. And then, when you are awakening yourself, you awaken to this, oh my God, you're witnessing this chatter that automatically happens when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. And if you're not awake to that, please, it's happening. It truly is happening. But when you wake up to it and you choose something so radical and so simple all at the same time that says, good morning, I'm okay. And it makes me chuckle because I don't know if you remember Stuart Smalley on Saturday Night Live. He would look in the mirror and say affirmations. And that was just the silliest, late 80s, early 90s self-help kind of, thing. But it's that simple. It is that simple. It puts you in the driver's seat of what you want to say, how you want to feel, and what you are contributing from your inside out, because it is what you feel and what you are perpetuating with inside of your mind and inside of your body that resonates out, and you contribute it to the world, and that is what you bring back. This is law of attraction. And if we can just tap into that place, I just love that, relating kindly to self. If we can be awake enough to be nice to ourselves, the world would change. It's that simple. I just love that. Okay, thank you so much for that. So I have one last question for you. And this is the question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm so humbly grateful to come on and for you to be here today and share all of your gifts. Is your most beloved self-care tip, advice, tool, product, maybe of all time or today? What do you have for us? And you got to give us, if it's something that you, a book or a resource or something that we need to buy, you got to give us all the information. No holds barred. Bring it on.
My most self-care or self-love, honestly, I say, and everybody's unique, so this may not be yours, but this is my favorite way to nurture myself is to get a massage. Mm-hmm. I love massage.
Okay. Any particular type?
Good massage. Pay for it. You get what you pay for. Go to Seattle.
Okay, let's do this.
So there are amazing massage therapists, and really stop calling them masseuses because that's not what it is anymore. They're massage therapists, especially in most places in the United States. Really find somebody who does what we call body work. Find somebody who does therapeutic body work. Not Swedish massage, but somebody who actually reads your body, listens to your body, and massages you accordingly. That is, for me, the most self-care, the most self-love. Like when I feel the best, I get into like the theta state, where you're not quite awake and you're not quite asleep, kind of like Shavasana and yoga. Mm-hmm. And I just feel so amazing. And I remember about 9 months after my mom died, I went and got my first real massage. And that's actually why I went to massage school. But I was in so much pain. Not physical pain, emotional pain. I went and got this massage from this woman up in Bellingham, Washington. If I remembered the name of the place, I would tell you. But that woman, after that, I splurged. I got a 90-minute massage. And that woman changed my life because I remember I walked out of that massage and I thought to myself, I'm going to be okay. And I am. And it still brings tears to my eyes to think about it, but that's why I went to massage school, because I thought if 90 minutes of somebody just safely and lovingly touching me in a very conscious, intentional way, healing, therapeutic way, can shift my attitude to think from I'm never going to be okay again to I'm going to be okay, then I got to learn how to do this so I can help other people know that they're going to be okay too. And so if you are in a state of mind, physically or emotionally or spiritually, where you're just, not feeling like you're that okay right now, then go get a really high quality massage. Find something on Yelp, get a recommendation, find a referral, but find somebody who, and don't give up after the first try if it's not great. Try somebody else. It's like getting a therapist. You just have to find somebody who fits with you, who knows you, who reads you. But it is really a gift. It is a gift to the world. And people who say they don't like getting touched just haven't been touched correctly. Because true gifted massage therapists can heal your soul.
I love that. I love your insight into it. I love how it catalyzed your journey and just really ignited that that next place for you. How absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
It really, we hold pain in our body, and sometimes we just have to let it go. And massage is like allowing you to let go without you doing a whole lot of work.
Is therapeutic body work a type of like accreditation, or is that what you're just kind of speaking to as a whole way of coming at massage?
It's a whole way of coming at massage.
Okay.
It's, certain states have higher requirements than others, but just finding somebody who doesn't, it's not about deep tissue. It's not about like rubbing you till you fall apart or like have bruises. It's about like really reading your body. And if you look for body workers, like that is usually where you'll find really high quality massage therapists. So, and you want to find somebody who calls themselves a massage therapist because they know the difference.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So, I love massage, and it's been such a huge catalyst. And that's why I said everybody's different. So maybe for you it's sound therapy, or for somebody else it's singing. It doesn't matter what your thing is. Just find something that helps you feel good again and feel alive again.
Absolutely.
That's the gift.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. Okay, dear sisters. We have had a phenomenal hour plus here with Laura. I'm so grateful to be held in this space with you, and for Laura to have shared her gifts and her journey. I hope it brings you clarity. I hope it brings you peace. I hope it brings you resources. I hope it opens your mind and grounds you. I hope it blesses you and heals you on so many different levels. Laura, I thank you so much for being here today with us. I'd love to have you back. I'd love to continue to have you in Circle. Your work is so beautiful and so important. I feel like we could talk forever about really what grief is, and just really get into some really beautiful things around that. Fall is, in 5-element Chinese theory, fall's main emotion is grief, loss, and longing. And so as we, move through the year, once we move into the fall, I think we should really equip our sisters here with maybe a nice deep dive into the metal medicine of grief of the fall. And by that time, your book will be out, hopefully on Audible, so we can hear your beautiful, sweet voice. And have you, it feels like it would be a lullaby to just have you read it to us. It's just so lovely. I would love that. So I thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to add?
I have one last thing I want to say.
Please.
Which is definitely get the Compassion Good Starter Kit. But if you don't, then just know the major difference between being compassionate and like saying the right thing and not saying the right thing is to acknowledge and validate rather than fix. So if you just acknowledge and validate what somebody else is going through rather than try to fix them, you'll be right on the right path to saying and doing the right things. Okay, just don't try to fix them because they're not broken. They're just brokenhearted, which is what one of my mentors taught me. So I hope that's helpful for someone out there.
I'm quite sure it is helpful for all of us to remember that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it holds them in their highest light, and that's what that's what we can do for each other. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such an honor.
You're very welcome. It was wonderful. Thank you, sisters. Allow the earth to be nurturing under your feet. Allow the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the energy around you to bless you from lifetimes back, lifetimes forward. Allow the song of the birds to be sweet in your ears. Allow the gentle movement of the waves and of the wind to open you to a new way of receiving here in the spring. Allow your body to be blessed. Allow your mind to be blessed. Take care of yourself. Allow your boundaries to be healthy, strong, just the way that you need them for yourselves. I wish this for you and all that you truly came here to be. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, sisters. Once again, thank you for this time together. Until next time, you can find all of my information on becomingluMinousWomen.com. Laura Jack, you can find all of her information on laurajack.com. Until next time, we thank you. And as the shamans say, aho!
Aho!